right, click links, join channel, check out the few subscribes. So thanks for the recent subs over there. Okay, I hate simping for chicks on the internet. I don't listen to any women on the internet at all, and I don't listen to pop culture on YouTube at all. It might come up in the Odyssey playlist. Is actually how I heard of this story, because her video came up on the Odyssey. It just kept, going to new videos, and her video came up. But she's really funny. She is really funny on Twitter. She just destroys these people. I mean, you think, oh, she's just some lightweight pop culture YouTube channel talking about, pop culture, which by this time, most of us, even hearing the word Star Wars is kind of triggers me, because I think, oh, Disney, oh God, I just recoil in horror. It's want nothing to do with it. But she just, she's making her money on YouTube, and she's not playing it perfectly safe, which is what, and I have respect for her and for Ethan, because they're both in that position of not playing it. Like, if I had the money that they were coming in, I don't know if I'd be as brave as, I mean, yeah, I guess I would, but they're not just laying back and taking the safe road. It's like they get into it with people and make a little bit edgy jokes, at least for nowadays. It's like they're not just YouTube pop culture grifters. Both of them will go toe to toe with these people and lay them out on social media. And it's like they both have big channels that are bringing in a huge amount of money, and that's always at risk when you're in that position of social media. So it's their job they're putting at risk, and they still will make some edgy jokes and go after these people. And she just bends these people over online and just goes to town on them one after another. I checked out the whole Twitter fight between this Marvel thing, and her and Ethan were just destroying these people left and right, and it's beautiful to watch, because may God grant you ridiculous enemies is kind of the situation, what happened there. So most people see this, and it's just a fan casting of a character. It's like, clearly that's not the character. Clearly that's not. Come on. So you think, laughing at it, Twitter sees the LOL and they just lose their freaking minds. Like, doesn't this seem a bit of a maybe an over response? Just telling someone to delete them, and they're threatening to remove her from this mortal coil from, I don't know, Kiki Palmer, who I've never heard of, an actor who is probably reading this and laughing, who doesn't care about any of these people. And the fact that you care so much about Hollywood is really weird. The left wing always uses that phrase, go touch some grass. It means kind of step away from the computer, go outside, go for a walk, realize that, like, Twitter's not real life. And you tell people Twitter's not real life, and that lately has been upsetting the left more and more, because you look at the 15% of people on Twitter who do 90% of the tweet traffic, and those are almost all left-wing people. A lot of them left-wing kids, left-wing cat ladies, and you look at their tweet history and you realize, like, yeah, they spent Saturday on Twitter. Like, they weren't away from Twitter to do anything other than run a few errands. So, like, Twitter is their life. So when you tell them it's not the real world, and maybe they're taking social media a little bit too seriously, they get offended by that, to the point where they're going to simp for $1 billion industry based on comic books that were great. They were part of the culture in the 40s on up, and they probably peaked I don't know, in the 60s and 70s maybe. That's how long ago I would say the peak was. And by 1990, I think it was pretty much over. I know there's people will point out a few exceptions. I think it's safe to say, like, if you wanted to go back and read stuff before 1990, you're going to have a good experience, and then that experience is going to diminish after 1990. So say make it 30 years exactly, 92. It's like, that's a long time ago, 30 years. And then after that, they've been getting progressively, you can roughly call it woker, which upsets them quite a bit. But, I mean, the sales don't lie, and there's various reasons for that. But, like, that correlation between increasing wokeness and lack of sales, it's like, yeah, that's just a one-to-one correlation. But these people think it's okay to go to hell, you Portuguese demon. See, she's kind of in an interesting spot, because she's half Portuguese, I believe, and it's like, Mediterranean people, it's like, what exactly are they? it puts her in an interesting spot. I mean, you got to be careful on YouTube, but like some of these the appellations they use for baked goods don't really apply to Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, or Greek people. They're kind of their own thing. As for being a colonizer, yeah, the Portuguese were great pirates and struggle snuggleists, and they were cutting heads left and right. It's like, yeah, that's what people did back then, Portuguese or Spanish. Yeah, that's just what they did. They went, they conquered, they deleted the men and borrowed the women, and that's what people did. It's like their neighbors to the south were constantly doing the same thing throughout Italy and the Byzantine Empire. It's like, yeah, that's what people did. They lived by the sword and they died by the sword. That was life. You got press ganged onto a ship, and then maybe a few years later you were the one doing the press gang, and it's like, oh, so I guess we were slaves. Yeah, you might have been. I mean, if you weren't inland farmer, it's like you had a pretty good chance of getting forced onto a ship. So you got low IQ Twitter who loses their freaking mind over. Obviously, this doesn't have anything to do with Marvel. Some of these people are legitimate fans of the Marvel, but you go like, okay, wait, if you're a legitimate fan of the comic book, and this isn't right, but because there's a non-white people involved, the left-wing kids have to try to bend over backwards and try to justify all this. And it makes them look like idiots because you're like, yeah, you don't have this isn't a logical argument. You're saying you're swapping a character. There's no reason to do that. The character that you fell in love with or at least enjoyed was the character as written and as drawn. There's no reason to swap it. When you swap it, this was just a fan edit, but it's like there's no shortage of this kind of stuff doing this all the time. And now red hair, green eyes and blue eyes, red hair, blonde hair, green eyes, blue eyes, those characteristics, those are the most rare people on Earth. They are an ultra minority. So to say that you're comfortable, this is the weird thing that they use this phrase POC, and you look at it, it's like, yeah, but European people have blue, green, and hazel eyes, and their hair color varies. Like, they are the most colorful people on Earth. It's weird, like when you're replacing them with people with the characteristics are dark hair and dark eyes, and you're replacing the varied hair color and the varied eye color with characteristics that don't change, and you think like, oh, you're making it better. You're like, how have you improved it? Well, representation. Yeah, but you got rid of an ultra minority for someone who outnumbers them 1,000 to 1. Oh, but Hollywood told me it's okay. Yeah, Hollywood cheers for Weinstein, Roman Polanski, Woody Allen, and they fly to Epstein's Island. That's Hollywood. That's what's been controlling the narrative for the past 60, 70 years. That Hollywood. Weinstein was doing his business in Hollywood, right? But people made it possible for him to do that business. And this is it's an animation, so it's like how the hair color goes. It's not obviously the issue. What color eyes? Obviously the issue is not the hair color. It's that she's a European person. Now, oh, that's nice. The thing is, you go, why doesn't the swap work in the other direction? Because as they say on Twitter, I archived all those tweets. They're hysterical. I mean, the hatred that comes across, this anti-white hatred, is just if you're on the left and you are a person of the light on the left, when push comes to shove, which is probably going to happen, it is probably going to happen sooner than later. History has a way of, we couldn't possibly have a war. My friend, have you seen Human History? So when push comes to shove, they will draw battle lines, and you won't find yourself on their side as well as hard as you virtue signal and take part in the humiliation ritual. You're going to learn that for yourself. It's like if you're on the left and you're a fair-skinned person of the light, and you see this kind of hatred, it's like the left-wing people are trying to justify it and bend over backwards as hard as they can. And you go, oh yeah, the left wing, believe it or not, back in the day was like, oh yeah, we're going to fight out Islamophobicism and we're just going to treat everyone equally. And then they slowly got subverted to where now the dirty secret of the left wing that the white left has to deal with is that the people of the light left are, there's a lot of them that are deeply, deeply racist people. And the white left has to deal with that. And they can't, like in the old days, they go, hey, that's not who we are. We're trying to treat people equally. We're trying to be progressive and move towards a better. And it's like, yeah, that all got subverted because it might have had a chance to be successful. It's like 2012 Occupy Wall Street or something. It's like, well, yeah. Yeah, BlackRock and Vanguard and Fink and Soros and Rothschilds and Schwab. Yeah, they're not gonna let you bring attention to the financial institutions. Are you crazy? They would round you all up and just literally disappear you if they had to. It's like they're people. None of these aren't billionaires. These people moving trillions of dollars of assets. Yeah, so Occupy Hall, like, as corrupt and as, a bunch of drug addicts and alcoholics and semi-crazy people were doing this Occupy thing, but it's like they were bringing attention to this, the financial institutions and this concept. It kind of got people thinking like, yeah, here are these weird tinfoil hat people talk about like fractional reserve and Federal Reserve 1913 and taxes and the credit system and the World Bank. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe we should shine a light on that. It's like, oh yeah, Occupy Wall Street is no more. So they subverted it from the haves and the have-not to based on skin tone. So now you're focused on like somebody who's, I don't know, making $30,000 a year feels they're being oppressed by someone who's making $130,000 a year because they're the white electrician who's driving a 4x4 truck, and they go, that's the oppressor. We need to go into their residential neighborhood. He goes, yeah, that guy's actually not the oppressor. Have those names I just mentioned, those puppet master names, those half dozen guys who like are in control of the assets that invest in Hollywood, like BlackRock. You go, BlackRock, what the hell is BlackRock and Vanguard and Larry Fink, right? Well, if you control those assets and you have to move that money around to invest in some projects and not others, you're able to control Hollywood by pushing it into a woke direction, any direction you want. It's like, that's why you see a lot of movies that don't make sense, because they have limitless assets. For as far as the concept of fiat currency goes, for assets having value, they control almost all of it. So it's like you'll see movies that don't make sense because they decide to invest to get those movies made. And if they lose a little money here and there, it's like, well, it's it's mostly other people's money, but it's in their control. Anyway, so they've got. I mean, what you see on Twitter is like people who are simping for Kiki. This is like pawn activity, pawns fighting pawns. They're simping for Kiki Palmer, and the other side is making fun of her, race swapping some character, which is stupid. It's like you should be able to concede some battles and not try to die on every hill when it's obviously a losing battle. No, you shouldn't be swapping out characters. If you want a POC character, then just create somebody new or take somebody who's already been established. Like you can go through Marvel and DC history, there are POC characters you can dust off, and it's like they're not doing that because that's not part of the. Let's get to this. The humiliation ritual. This is the humiliation ritual, where they swap out the rarest of the redheaded characters, and replace them with somebody the group that outnumbers them 1,000 to 1. That's part of the humiliation ritual. And they have these. It's like fan baiting, rage baiting to get people. All she said was LOL. Presumably because it's like this. That's what she was laughing about. I'm guessing that they continue to do this kind of very, very simple ways of manipulating like low IQ fans on Twitter to get them to fight each other, instead of looking at like, oh, well, who's like pulling the strings on this in Hollywood in general? Like who's funds Hollywood, and not just the production companies themselves, but like the Larry Fink example, the BlackRock example. Like, oh, so let's take a look. Do they act in accordance with a certain dogma? Is there anything you could find like their motives? Like, can we analyze their patterns of behavior to determine motivations, why they do the things they do? It's like, yeah, it seems like nobody ever really focuses on that. Weird how it's just pawn behavior, pawns fighting pawns, and it's not even the kings and queens would be like the production companies themselves, which are billion-dollar companies. But the people who are pulling the strings on those would be like the Soros, Rothschild, Schwab's, Larry Fink types, who are the ones who are actually playing chess. And it's like underneath the board are a billion more pawns who. It's like all you have to do is stand up and the game is over. It's like that really, yeah. But people who say that too loudly. Like Anomaly. Like if Anomaly had a bigger following, he would it would either be silver or lead. Like if a salty baked product, that guy who has a YouTube and Odyssey live stream, like if he ever suddenly decided to go down the rabbit hole, it's like, oh, he would just get sick or carjacked. Oh, I got a home invasion. Yeah, tragically died. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, Anomaly suddenly got really based, and started getting a bigger following on Odyssey and Shing and all these live streamings. Oh yeah, got carjacked and two to the back of the head. Oh, that's weird. That's weird. Yep, silver or lead. That's the way it goes. Too much conspiracy. Maybe I'll edit this last little bit out. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. You can check out. I was gonna say you can check out Star Wars Girl on YouTube, which doesn't really make sense when 100 people see this video. And I don't know what her view count is. I don't know what like the pop culture YouTube channels talk about too much. You can watch those channels on Odyssey. It's way better because there's no advertisements on Odyssey, at least not yet. It's probably coming. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.